Welcome to Complete Aviation Solutions, Deep Dive number 72.
Glad to be diving in.
So today we've got a collection of recent reports you shared with us. We're looking at financial and operational strategies from airlines, well, all over the globe, really.
That's right. And the mission, as always, is to kind of pull out the key bits, connect the dots for you.
We'll be touching on government intervention, some interesting fleet management moves, and those ever-present challenges with regional connectivity.
Yeah, what strikes me right away is just how different the approaches are. You've got state support on one side and then pure market expansion on the other.
Okay, let's unpack that. Starting with Sri Lankan Airlines. We're seeing reports the government there is planning a new bill.
Exactly. Aimed at improving governance, financial discipline, transparency, specifically mentioning Sri Lankan Airlines.
And this comes after the IMF raised some concerns, didn't they, about the airline's debt?
They did. Seems the IMF felt the debt resolution was moving a bit too slowly, so this bill looks like a response.
Makes sense. So the idea is better governance. Things like getting board members based on expertise, not politics.
Uh-huh. And also removing that sort of preferential treatment from the Treasury, trying to make it operate more like a commercial business.
It feels like we see this sometimes, national carriers needing a push, maybe from outside, to get more financially sustainable.
Definitely. Especially when there's historical debt involved.
But interestingly, the government's been quite clear they won't privatize the airline.
No, they see it as crucial for tourism. So they're actually committing funding for maintenance, for growth, even with these governance changes.
That's a strong statement.
Yeah.
And they've put some money towards the debt recently.
Yeah, LKR 20 billion, which is about USD 66.8 million, to chip away at that USD 1.2 billion debt pile.
Still a huge amount of debt, though.
Oh, absolutely. And while they've hired a financial advisor for restructuring bonds, the IMF is still pushing for, faster progress. It's a balancing act.
Definitely. Just for context, Sri Lankan operates 22 aircraft, 36 destinations, about 68 daily flights out of Colombo. Okay, let's shift gears completely. IndiGo in India. Very different story here, it looks like.
Totally different. IndiGo is all about expansion, specifically using lease agreements for long haul.
They're taking more planes from North Atlantic.
That's right. 2 more Boeing 787-9s. This is on top of an existing deal for 4 of the same type.
So potentially 6 of these wide bodies leased from Norse.
It seems like a smart way to kind of test the long-haul market without buying the planes outright immediately.
Especially given economic uncertainties, maybe.
Yes.
Is that a wider trend, do you think, using leases for expansion?
It could be. It offers flexibility. These 2 extra planes should start flying by early 2026.
And these are damp leases, right? So Norse provides the plane and crew.
Plane and crew, yeah. But IndiGo manages the operation, sells the tickets, decides the routes. The lease is initially short, 6 months, but could go up to 18 months. Needs regulatory approval, of course.
And they have specific plans for these.
Oh, yeah. They've already got 1 flying since March, 3 more coming later this year. The plan is new routes to Europe. They've mentioned Manchester and Amsterdam starting this July.
Wow. Okay, so that's a big step, connecting India directly with more European cities.
It really is a major part of their strategy. Makes you wonder if other carriers will follow this kind of leasing model for breaking into new long-haul markets.
It's a flexible approach, but it's temporary for IndiGo, isn't it?
That's the plan. Long-term, they want to replace these leased 787s with their own A350-900s. They've ordered 30, first one's expected around 2027.
It gives them breathing room while they wait, and IndiGo's scale is just massive now.
It is. Over 400 aircraft, 129 destinations, nearly 2,200 daily flights. Huge operation.
And for North Atlantic, this fits their strategy too.
Yep. Increases their ACMI and charter business, basically, leasing out the whole package. Aircraft, crew, maintenance, insurance. It's good revenue for them while IndiGo uses the planes. A win-win, potentially.
Okay, interesting dynamic there. Let's hop over to Europe, KLM.
Right, KLM in the Netherlands. They've just got permission from the U.S. Department of Transportation.
To potentially use Air France planes.
Exactly. For the Amsterdam to New York JFK route, specifically between July and October this year. It's a wet lease permit.
Wet lease, meaning Air France provides everything. Plane, crew, maintenance, insurance.
That's the typical setup, yes.
Yeah.
A complete package.
Yeah, but it's not certain they'll actually do it.
Doesn't look like it right now. The schedules still show KLM's own planes on that route. So this permit feels more like a contingency, a backup plan.
Which makes sense because they're having some aircraft issues.
Yeah, that's the context. They've got 7 of their Boeing 787s grounded temporarily. expected to last a few more weeks, apparently.
Ah, okay. And that could cause long-haul cancellations otherwise.
Precisely. So having this wet lease option with their partner Air France, who has a pretty diverse wide-body fleet, gives them a safety net.
It really shows how vulnerable airlines can be to unexpected maintenance, doesn't it?
It does, and highlights the value of partnerships and alliances. KLM's own fleet is substantial too, of course, but grounding 7 wide bodies at once is bound to cause headaches.
No doubt. KLM's based at Schiphol, 116 aircraft, loads of destinations. Big operation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, finally, let's go down to New Zealand, a much smaller scale situation with Air Chatham's.
Yeah, this one's about regional connectivity and local funding struggles. Air Chatham's runs a route between Wakatan and Auckland.
And they asked the local council, the Wakatan District Council, for financial support.
They did, but the council turned down most of the requests.
Oh, what did they agree to?
Just waiving landing fees for 6 months, that's it.
What had Air Chatham's asked for?
Quite a list. Writing off an existing loan of NZD 350,000, a full year of no landing fees, a profit and loss sharing deal for the Auckland route. Even asked about a new loan for planes, though they pulled that request later.
So the council is pushing back on direct financial help.
Seems that way. They mentioned they've given support before, loans and fee relief over the years, but they seem wary now.
Is the route itself challenging?
Well, Air Chatham's reported losing over $1 million New Zealand dollars on it since April 2023. They even suggested they might have to stop flying it.
Wow. That's significant for a small airline.
It is. The route's only about 300 kilometers. You could drive it in 4 hours. That always makes the economics tricky for short flights.
Yeah, competition from the road. They fly it pretty regularly, though.
Twice daily on weekdays, once on Sundays, using a Saab 340. There's another small airline, Sun Air, serving Wakatan too, but to different places.
And the council rejected the profit-sharing idea and the new loan.
Unanimously. Though apparently some counselors were open to maybe talking about the existing loan, perhaps converting it to equity or something.
Okay, so maybe some room for negotiation there. But the council is also looking for other options.
Yes, they're going to put out feelers and expressions of interest process to see if other airlines might offer business-friendly flights to Auckland and maybe Wellington.
Interesting. So they want the connection, but maybe not under the current arrangement or cost.
That seems to be the bottom line. It really puts the spotlight on that challenge of keeping regional air links viable, especially when local funding is tight.
It really does. Air Chatham's itself is pretty small.
Yeah.
8 planes, 7 destinations, based out on Chatham Island.
Right. So summing up, quite a range of situations we've looked at.
Definitely. So what does this all mean for you listening? You've got Sri Lanka, with the government restructuring under IMF pressure.
Then IndiGo, using leases very strategically to fuel its big international expansion plans.
KLM in Europe, dealing with operational hiccups and leaning on partnerships for backup.
And Air Chatham's in New Zealand, facing the harsh economics of regional routes and tussling with local funders.
It really paints a picture of the diverse pressures, doesn't it?
Yeah.
State involvement versus market forces, operational realities, the fight to keep small communities connected.
Absolutely. And think about the knock-on effects. How do decisions about state carriers impact the global market for planes?
Good point. And what does all this leasing activity like IndiGo's really tell us about airline confidence or maybe caution about the long term?
And are the old models for funding regional air travel still working, or do we need new ideas to keep those essential links going?
Lots to think about there. This deep dive just gives you a snapshot, really, into how complex and dynamic the aviation world is right now.
We hope it's given you some valuable insights. What stands out to you as the biggest trend or the most interesting piece in all of this? Something to chew on.